I got sent a code for a game about fixing old electronics, and if I'm being honest, I wasn't sure how much of it I would be playing. I knew I would be playing a little bit, but I didn't know if I would get through most of it, if all of it. I tried the demo. A buddy of mine, Tal Cape Brigade, who I do co-shows with, talked about it and how much he's been looking forward to it. And we both tried it. We poked around. I got it. I understood it. Lo-fi music, soft colors, little repair shop in Tokyo. Chill. It's in the title. It's just not what I'm normally into. 2 days later, I had looked up and it was almost 1:30 in the morning, and I had a PSP and 17 pieces on my desk. Not a real one in this game. And although I have done that in real life with a real one, we'll come back to that. So here's what I got wrong. I thought the appeal was that it was relaxing. It is relaxing. That part's real. I'm not here to tell you the cozy game isn't cozy. But that's the container, that's not the engine. ReStory is a factory game. It's a factory game that put a person at the end of the pipeline, and I don't think I've ever played anything else that does that. Quick ground floor, because the rest of this doesn't land if you haven't seen the game. ReStory came out on August 6th from a studio called Mandragora, published by tinyBuild. You run a small electronics repair shop in Tokyo in the mid-2000s. Customers walk in, hand you a broken device, and you fix it. And a repair is a real procedure. You test the device to see if there's any soldering needed, you examine it for any defects or issues or find the faults, you disassemble it, actual screws, actual layers, panel comes off on the right orders, you clean it, because these things are often filthy or hiding a lot of broken pieces in the middle of them. You inspect the parts to find out which parts are dead, which ones are not reusable. You replace it, you order replacement parts, you repair it, then you put the entire package back together just so it can function. The devices are also all legally distinct versions of stuff you already know. A Pokia brick phone, a Noni music player, an XI box. There's an Igachi, and then they actually do have, I believe, something that's very much outright just a Atari, which I think was one of the things they could land. And you're paying rent in yen, ordering parts off of in-game web stores, parroting off of like existing real-life stores, buying tools, ratchet, screwdrivers runs around 11,000 yen. The electronic one is a bit more. And then there are the licenses. These are the things in the game where it pretty much acts as the word for permission to work on a whole new category of devices. You save up, you buy a license, and suddenly you can operate and get repair orders for cameras, laptops, maybe even full-on game consoles. That license system is the thing I want to talk about, because that's where this stops being a cozy game for me and becomes something else entirely. I have an engineering background. I should put that on the table right now because it explains basically everything I'm about to go into how this game got me. Every single time I bought a new license in this game, the same 3 stages of things happened every time. I started noticing it around the 3rd or 4th one, and then I couldn't stop noticing it at all. You crack open an unfamiliar device for the first time, and you have no idea what you're looking at. What comes off first, which screws are structural, which ones are holding a shell or a shield, where the failure are hidden in or on, and in this particular case of variety of things, it's a genuinely built like a problem. You're solving it live, you're solving it pretty slowly, and you will absolutely be putting it back together wrong once at minimum. By the 5th one of those, it isn't a puzzle anymore. It's a procedure. You know the order, you know where the fault usually lives, and the moment it becomes a procedure, your brain flips over into a completely different mode, which is, how fast can I do this? Not because the game is asking me to, because it's there. Because there's a known process, and a known process can be tightened. After the 5th or 6th Pokia phone, I was definitely like, okay, we're lasering it. And then lastly, the final stage, this is the one that really got me, because at some point I stopped optimizing the repair itself and started optimizing my workspace, the bench. I was grouping parts by which layer of the device they came out. outer shell parts up top, internals over here, staging my tools as such, putting my new orders that I've brought in, the ones in work, the ones that are backlogged. I had a certain system in place and where I was putting everything and how I was running everything. I was doing time and motion study in a cozy game on a Saturday at 2 a.m. And that should be repeated several times. I had to repeat it to myself several times to really let it sink in what about this game was grabbing me. The part I think that actually matters, the game never asked me to do any of this. There's no efficiency score. Nobody's grading my bench layout. There's a timer on some jobs and like some of the competitions you can do, but you can just take a little longer. It's pretty forgiving. The optimization is entirely self-imposed, which means the game isn't rewarding me for optimizing. It's just built well enough to be optimizable. It gives me that window. And then it gets out of the way and lets certain kinds of people, like myself, go feral with it. And I think that's the tell about who this is really for. Every repair starts to become a Sudoku in a way. Not in a metaphor, very much a structural Sudoku. There's a constrained space, fixed rules, one correct configuration, and a genuine satisfaction in the moment it resolves. So if that's the engine, then the question is what genre this game actually belongs to, and I want to be fair to both of the ones I'm borrowing from. On one side, you've got optimization games, Factorio, Satisfactory, Shapes, the whole factory lineage. These are the games that understand exactly the pleasure I just described. Diagnose a bottleneck, redesign the process, watch throughput climb. Nobody does that loop really better. But what's at the end of a Factorio pipeline? It's really a number. It's a rocket. Eventually, but functionally, it's a number going up, and the satisfaction is closed. It loops back into itself. You optimize so you can optimize more. On the other side, you've got the cozy sim boom. Those games understand the other half. There's a person at the end. Someone is glad you did the thing. There are characters in a town and a warmth to it. But in a lot of those games, and I say this with real affection, and I don't mean this in any negative way, I put time into a few of them, I've tried my hand at them. The work itself is a bit of a formality. It's a button press, it's a progress bar between conversations. There isn't a problem, so to speak, in their worth and engineering mind's attention. And what ReStory does is it kind of, I think, closes that gap. The work is a genuine optimization problem with a real mastery curve, and the payoff at the end of the pipeline isn't a counting ticker going up. It's Hashimoto getting his phone back. It's numerous members in your local community progressing their stories and helping them throughout their day. That's the fusion, the competency, but pointed at a person. And I really don't think I've hit that combination in any other game. I can't remember if I have before. This feels like it's been the first time. Because the other thing that happened over those 2 days is that I started caring about the shop's reputation. Not the number, the reputation. You take in a device, you hear why it matters to the person handing it over, and then you give it back working. And they come back and they tell people. And the shop becomes a place in a neighborhood that people rely on. There's a genuine pride that comes with that I really resonate with. It snuck up on me because I went in expecting a story to kind of be set dressing on a repair loop. It isn't. It's very much a load-bearing element of this game, and I think I can articulate why. I'm gonna attempt here. If you take the story of ReStory, you've got a decent little disassembly puzzler, and I probably play it for about 90 minutes and move on, which is what I was anticipating I'd be doing. What the characters do is give the optimization weight. Every second I shaved off workflow was a second I could spend on someone else's problem. The efficiency stopped being self-referential the moment it was in service of someone. And I want to be careful here because I'm aware of how this sounds. It would be easy to read that as the game dressing up busy work in emotional clothing to keep you clicking. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's the reverse. The work is legitimately good. The story is what gives the work somewhere to go. It gives it a purpose. There's a specific identity the game is modeling, and I don't think I've seen a game model it before. It's not hero, it's not craftsman exactly. It's dependability. You're this dependable person, the person people bring their broken stuff to. And you don't get to be that person by just declaring it, I'm that person. You get it by fixing one thing at a time, which is, I think, why the reputation loop worked on me as hard as it did. So I mentioned earlier the real PSP that had a case in my case. I was in college. This was many moons ago. I bought a broken PSP for $40. And I wanted to be clear about the framing here because I think that matters. That wasn't a hobby project. That wasn't me looking for something to tinker on for the weekend. That was the only way I was getting a PSP. $40 for a broken one was the price point I could hit. Working ones weren't. So the repair wasn't optional and it wasn't recreation. It was the entire path to owning this thing. And I had no idea what I was doing either. It was kind of just like figure it out as you go. I learned what was wrong with it. Several things were wrong with it. I found the parts, ordered them from some site. I had no idea whether it would be legit or not. There was no way to verify. I waited. I took it apart, put it back together, and took it apart again. And it was a trial and error the entire way. Eventually, I got it working with a few battle scars on it and me. And I gotta say that example is one of many. I never stopped doing that, whether it be custom PC builds, mods on my Switch, and numerous other devices and gadgets and retro things. It started to become a little bit more of a thing that I just enjoy tinkering and even just trying to do with things that in my life that I'm like, oh, maybe I can MacGyver this before I just go outright replacing it. And it's why, like in my earlier years of my life with some friends and family, I would be the one people would call on and be like, hey, we need you to help with like fixing this or tinkering with that to get it working on the technology side of stuff. I liked finagling with those things, which I know is very specific and very not like the most glamorous thing to be known for, but it is something that you become known for. It takes kind of a few years to build that. And ReStory compressed that entire arc of it, the not knowing, the getting good, the being relied on, into a weekend, into a fictional shop set in 2006. And I keep coming back to the roster of different kind of like devices and license because I don't think it's an accident that they picked what they picked. Every single thing you fix in this game is from the last era of consumer electronics you were allowed to get good at. Phones with screws, batteries that came out, handhelds where the shells separated into panels and the parts inside were discrete components you could identify and source. That's over for the most part nowadays, if you really think about it. I don't just mean it's harder. I mean that ladder is gone. Everything from adhesives instead of screws, sealed assemblies, serialized parts, and paired lockings that mean the replacement components you correctly diagnosed and correctly installed still won't work because the device knows it isn't the original. And what that kills isn't just like the repair exactly, it's that progression for you. You can't get from stage 1 to stage 3 anymore because there's no stage 2. Nothing becomes a procedure you can refine because you're locked out of it before you even get there. So when I look at this game selling over 300,000 copies in its first week, and that's no niche number, that's a phenomenon, and I'm genuinely like applauding them for that. I don't think that 300,000 people who just wanted something to relax. I'm sure that played a part in it, but I think a lot of them are people who miss being allowed to become good at something with their hands. So I don't have a tidy landing for this. I got through the whole ladder of this game in a weekend. I hit credits, problem, process mastery, and then a neighborhood full of people who came back because I was the one who could fix it. And all of it happened in a shop that doesn't exist in a city I don't live in 20 years ago. That's great. I had a genuinely incredible 2 days. It was worth sitting with for a second. And it's now sitting with me longer as I work to put this video together and think about why it really resonated with me. But I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into my own job into a game about cleaning corrosion off of circuit boards. It's possible, I don't know. But I very much want to hear from you if you played it. What was the device that flipped it for you? What was the first one where you stopped solving it and started I gotta optimize, I can make this tighter, I can streamline this. And if you have a real life example that you also can parallel from, a thing you fixed that you had no business being able to fix, I want to hear about that even more. Drop it below. I'm very curious. But as always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next save point.